All right, so welcome back. This is Carlo Lorazzo, senior or editor in chief at Home Theater Secrets, and I'm Taps. And this is Sorta Hi-Fi, where we just talk audio and whatever else kind of floats our boat at the time of recording. And this time we're going to
There
try
you
to keep
go.
it under like 2 hours.
We'll get better at that. We'll get better. Don't worry. We just like to gab a lot, apparently.
Yeah,
Oh man. So how you doing, sir? Everything okay?
I'm doing all right. Just firing through as many reviews as humanly possible. And
Mm-hmm.
I got a whole bunch of. I realized this week that I absolutely need to move next year. Where, like, there's too much in the house now, and um,
Yeah.
like I have the Focals, the Sonus Faber or Faber speakers, like
Mm-hmm.
with center, and so like I can only have one hooked up at a time, and so it's
Yeah.
like I want to kind of run through both of them at the same time, but then like you can't, so and so
First world problems, right?
first world problems. And honestly, the Sonus Faber is kind of winning because it's the best looking thing I've ever had in house.
Right.
Like you don't really
Those you.
realize like how good they look until you actually get them up close and personal. Like at House of
Mm,
Sound, it was different because like everything was gorgeous already, so it's kind of
was
like.
over the top as it was. Yeah.
But when you bring them home, like these Lumina 2, I guess the amateurs, like they're
Mm-hmm.
leather wrapped, but also on the back,
Yeah.
which is just they're so stupid. They're so beautiful though. Like
Yeah, they are. They are the Sonus Faber guys. They just do fantastic work with their speakers. I mean, they're gorgeous looking, and even the most entry level one. I mean, it's just they just do a really nice job, and never mind getting up higher up into the models where they it's just even more crazy. So
I'm
yeah,
I'm almost
no,
curious as to like what their margins are because like I imagine on their like more expensive ones, like maybe those sell more than the Luminas. Like I'm just curious. Like I don't really know because the Luminas are new, but they're finished so well that it's just like
I couldn't tell you what they are, but I mean the Luminas when they came out, obviously they were specifically targeted to get that sort of I would say entry level, but first buyer into the whole Sonus Faber, into the whole Sonus Faber line, introduce them into the family, and it's really they're really successful by all accounts, and the big thing is, I mean, it's like they're all still all made in Italy. I
yeah.
mean, I think they're all completely put together in Italy, even at the Lumina line, if I'm not mistaken. Um, which I mean, I think it just adds to the whole pride of ownership aspect of it and stuff, that you actually have a beautiful sounding and looking Italian speaker that's not going to put you in the poorhouse.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's pretty wild, and yeah, they've been really smart about how they've extended their lines, added to it, and what sort of parts of the market they've targeted, and yeah, the Lumina was, because before the Lumina, Sonetto was the entry, was sort of the entry point into Sonus Faber, and they saw room for to get a new audience in, and then that's when Lumina came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and now
they're
they sorry, go ahead.
no, they're so gorgeous. Like the fives that I have now, it's like I
Hmm.
asked for the twos and they sent the fives.
Hmm.
Thanks, Annie. You're amazing. But like
They love you.
I love them. But like yeah, like having them in house, I'm just like, oh my god, like I picked up those as like, hey,
Hmm.
I need an upgrade to like my everyday speaker, and like I'm noticing
Yeah.
my 685s were just kind of dying. Like I'm hearing like more and more inconsistencies in them. And so I was like, okay,
Hmm.
they're like 15 years old. Let's just upgrade them. And so I grabbed these, and like I do really like the sound, but like now
Hmm.
I'm just kind of like, oh, like maybe I should have just grabbed the Luminas because because
Buyer's remorse.
yeah, and tons of buyer's remorse. I mean, like they look okay, but they look like like entry level speakers, like they're like vinyl
Yeah.
wrapped, they're MDF. They just, outside of just cosmetically, just from afar, they look okay.
Those Italians, man, they have a way of making you feel a little extra special when you buy their stuff. I
Yeah,
mean, it's just sort of baked into it how they do it.
they're
I don't
really
know,
good
but they do.
cheese. They're
Yeah, they're really really good cheese. Yeah, yeah. Yep, yep, yep. Fine oil, fine balsamic, and fine cheese. Yeah,
just
yeah,
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 just
yeah.
yeah. I'm going to, between me, you, and the 90 people that actually watch this video, I'm going to hang on to them for as long as humanly possible. it was a pain
I,
in their butt to ship them here, so I'm just going to be like, hey, let me
mhm.
just enjoy these for as long as
Oh
possible.
yeah.
And they will show up
Let
in,
me.
in more than just the Sonus Faber review. They'll be in like a
mm.
few amp reviews and whatever else I can use them in. But
I'll
like,
tell I'll tell you when I had the Olympica Nova fives here, and I just got them in originally because Tyler Stripko reviewed them, about over a year before I got them, and they had a new set in that were in piano black. I always get stuck with piano black, but that's a different story. But I said, sure, send them over because we never got a chance to measure them. And so I initially just got them to measure, and I just added to his review. But oh my God, they sounded beautiful. And I just was like, God, I know these are another pair of piano black speakers, but oh my God, I don't want to send them back.
yeah,
They just sounded so good. And even, straight piano black, it was gorgeous. It was the most beautiful piano black finish I'd ever seen. I mean, you could swim in it. It was so deep, and then all the other little extra touches that the binding posts, the on the Olympicus, they have that spine that goes down the back that's aluminum, and it basically is like almost like a finned um, slot port that runs down the entire back of the speaker. It just looks so cool. Um, and then just the drivers and the little the grills with the strings that mimic kind of stringed instruments. I mean, the whole package was just glorious. And I actually, I was lucky enough to have them for a number of months before they said, oh yeah, you still got those speakers, we kind of like them back. And it's like, yeah, yeah, I still have them. Sure, you can have them back, come pick them up.
yeah.
And like a little tears in my eyes had left. So but yeah, yeah, Sonus Faber knows what they're doing, and they have it going on. There's no question about it.
I do want to
No
hear
question
the
about it.
Sonettos as well now, though. Like,
Yeah, they're really pretty what they did with
mhm.
those. I can't. I think Jim Milton has a set of the original Sonettos. Jim Milton's, who's one of our other reviewers in Texas, and I've seen them at a few stores, actually a few stores, kind of in the Columbus area here. Um, and I've always thought they were interesting, but they've never sort of the design has never really floated my boat like some of the other Sonus Faber things have. But what they did with them, the redesign is just
They're gorgeous.
oh, it's aesthetically just like so on point.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gorgeous. I mean, they took all the hard edges almost out of them, and it's like very sleek. It's like you just can't help but want to touch them. It's kind of
And
like
that
running your hands down the
that point
sides.
is curious because, like, when manufacturers take the hard edges off of the speakers, I tend to not like them as much. Like
Mm.
I
Hmm.
tend to like the boxy nature of speakers, like that clean, almost brutalist sort of look of speakers, like Kef speakers, like the
You know,
references.
well, you're a designer. It really depends on how it's implemented. I mean, I've seen, yeah, like you. I mean, I've seen some really cool looking speakers with like edges galore on them and corners and stuff. I mean, what is it? The soundscape, the MoFi soundscape speakers that Andrew Jones designed. I mean, yeah, they look like boxes, but you mean when you look at the baffles, they have that sort of chiseled kind of um the chiseled kind of look to the baffles. It's kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's gonna be about 9 or 10, 9 to 10 or 12 planes
Mhm.
on it, and it's just the way it's arranged. It's like, yeah, that looks it's got a neat look to it and stuff where yeah, where other designs it's kind of like it's a box. It looks like a box. And then you have, just like we were talking with the Sonettos, where it's kind of like just the curves are just, I mean, they're just so pleasing to look at. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like an Italian car or something where you have those curved forms, and they just hit just right, you know.
yeah, the
So,
LS50 Meta is the other one that's curved that looks really pretty. And part of
yeah,
me
yeah.
just wants to get a hold of it just so I could have it one day, but like I pretty much know that I won't like it based on
Mm-hmm.
everything I've heard. Like it's like
Yeah.
there's no bass. You need like 200 watts to power the things. It's just like, come on, like
These are little cube jobs that you're talking, the little
yeah,
cubey
the
jobs that you're
rounded
talking
off
about.
cube with
Right,
multicolors,
right.
and like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like it was all the audiophile forums were raving about them, and then
Mm-hmm.
like maybe a year into it, there's all these posts of just like, hey man, I bought these and they sound like trash. Like, what am I missing? you know,
No, no.
and so like it's like, well, like you're probably buying them thinking that
Where's the base?
where's
Yeah,
the bass, or
yeah,
like why are these underpowered, they don't sound the same, and like so like it's almost like this one section of people that are just like like the I don't know, I guess like the traditional audiophiles that don't like a ton of bass, that want accuracy and want precision. That was for them, and then everybody
yeah.
else was just like, what is this is
But you can always add subs to those. I mean, that's I think that's kind of the point. I mean,
yeah,
you want to, when you were dealing with those, you want bass, you're going to add subs. At the end of the day, they're like
they're
what,
tiny,
that big. There's only so much you're going to get out of them, right?
yeah,
And that's actually probably the other reason why the Kev came out with the
R3.
not the Arthur, the taller active
Oh
ones
yeah,
that look like the little LS50s, but slim and stretched, and and they're all active and they're floor standers,
mm-hmm.
and they kind of look like, I like, what is it, the monuments from 2001: A Space Odyssey turned on their side or whatever, with the driver in the
Oh my
in the
god,
narrow baffle
that's
or
an old
something like
reference.
that.
I don't remember what that. Sorry.
Sorry, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I just showed my age there, whatever.
I was gonna say they look like wings just turned vertically, but
Kind of. Yeah,
yeah,
there you go. That's probably better. That's better.
we're gonna have to. I'm gonna Google
Yeah.
it and then see if I can overlay it to see if it matches up at all.
Are they the LS60s or the LS
Yeah, the
something?
LS60. Yeah,
Okay,
I
okay.
mean, design wise, they're
Um,
on point. Like everything looks great. It's just
yeah.
like, but sometimes when I see tiny drivers, like I'm just like, oh, I kind of know what that means. It's like you're just gonna need
Hmm.
like one or two subs to make this even remotely sound pleasing.
Yeah, satisfying. Yeah,
But then
yeah,
like I find like the sweet spot is like that 6.5 inch driver where it's just like it's not too big, not too small. You get enough of like
yeah,
the upper bass, and like so if you did run them standalone, you'd be fine.
yeah.
But then if you got
For
anything lower, like 5 inches, just sub. You just need sub.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with you. Like a 6.5 to 7 inch driver, like in a bookshelf, say, like even a two way,
Mm-hmm.
that gets you at least some sort of a little bit of oomph,
Yeah,
in the bottom end, where it's like you could live with it without a sub if you wanted to.
especially
And
sorry to cut you off. Especially with in a
no,
lot of integrated amplifiers, there's no bass management, so you have to sort of
yeah,
dial in the sub yourself. And like, as much as I've seen videos of people doing the sub crawl, I don't think any realistic person is doing that. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
not any realistic person who's got like other things to do with their time.
yeah,
Yeah,
like I set mine
exactly.
at 80 most of the time, and I just leave it. Like, and then I
Hmm.
just like then that's just the crossover that I use for my speakers, unless I get a pair of floor standers and I turn it down to like 60 or so.
That's where like, and this is like, if you want to go the extra mile, getting like a downloading, like, with that free software Ruby Q
Yeah,
Wizard, and getting a USB mic, that's having that, and just running a few sweeps, that kind of helps with sub placement for stuff like that, and at least gives you a good idea of where in the room is the best place for it. And then once you find that, then it's just a matter of sort of getting the levels and the blend right after that.
that's that
You know,
that's one of those things I plan to do once I get to a permanent space of just like learning how to
yeah.
use that. But like
Hmm.
one of the things I like about doing stuff for secrets is you guys do all the measurements, and so I don't have to. Because if I'm
That's
being
right.
honest, like every time if I'm looking at a review of something I'm curious about and all the measurements go up, my eyes
Hmm.
just glaze over, and I'm just like, this is not for me. I don't. I don't, A, I don't know what I'm looking at, and then like
That's right.
outside of like an EQ, like just for making music, like I know what I'm looking at there, but like every
Hmm.
one of those other charts, I'm just like, this is what my dad did. He was an engineer. I'm like, and I don't exactly know what he did, and these charts are
Yeah,
why. I'm just
yeah.
like, just
We do the measurements to appeal to the old farts, like
I'm
who
sure
like to
there's a
know
ton of
that's to look
people
at that
that
stuff.
still value them, but it's a certain mind. Like I'm an art major,
It
so
is, it
like
is, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Well, I am too. I mean, I'm an animation major, but I always appreciated. I mean, back in the days when I used to get like Audio Magazine and stuff when that was still around, and Sound and Vision Canada, when the original Sound and Vision, the proper one, but you didn't hear me say that. Before they disappeared. I mean, I used to love seeing the
Hmm.
measurements. I mean, and even if I didn't understand them completely, that's where I started reading about them, started to figure out, what things meant. And yes, there's a bunch of stuff that, it would be more meaningful to me than say some other things. But I mean, I always respected that, and I always like, I've always wanted something where, besides I can tell if it sounds good, but I always wanted to kind of be able to quantify that it sounds good, or at least sort of figure out why I think it sounds good, or why why what I think sounds good may not necessarily be what a lot of other people think sounds good. I've always been interested in kind of figuring that out or whatever, or at least kind of getting a beat on that. And there are guys who have been doing measurements so much longer and are much more sort of attuned to it than I am. I kind of feel like when I'm doing them, I'm just kind of feeling like I'm getting a grip on it, and can sort of figure things out. Um, but yeah, I just kind of like knowing,
Hmm.
or having at least sort of understanding of that. So.
You know what I used to do outside of doing
Hmm.
measurements is like when I used to just read reviews and not like do any of this reviewing stuff is remember that magazine What
Hmm.
Hi-Fi? So they would have their star ratings, and so what I figured out after reading a few of their issues was
Yeah.
any speaker that they gave like a 5-star rating to would be more on the analytical side,
Hmm.
like it'll be a bit more transparent, a bit more neutral. And then any speaker that they kind of gave 4 stars to, it was kind of like more of like this one's darker, it's a bit more bass heavy. And so then when I would read the reviews, I would just be like, "Oh, I'm just going to ignore all the 5 stars and look at the 4 stars." And then and then
Right.
that would generally be most of the sound signature I wanted. So like I bought my missions because of that, and then I was like, they were glorious. I loved everything about them, and then I just kept
Hmm.
doing that until like and when I bought the 685s, I think they just got usurped by I think the Monitor Audio RX ones or something, and they were like the 685s are good, but they're good only for these things. They're not as refined as this. So I'm like, oh, so then I want the non-refined one. So that's how I upgraded to that too.
You've gone through like I think since I've known you, and we've gone even before we started doing this. You've gone through like
Yeah,
I think a fair number of smaller speakers or whatever
yeah.
that you've had a chance to kind of play with and experience and stuff, and that has to kind of be interesting. I mean, it has to be interesting just kind of being able to have compare all those in sort of in the time you have, and get it. I
Hmm.
mean, do you find like a huge difference like between all the
Yes.
ones that you've heard? I mean, like really substantial things you can notice, or is it mostly like subtle things that you've noticed between all those speakers, you've bookshelves you've tested?
I mean, like they're big in the sense of um, if you're looking for them, you know what I mean? Like so the Silver 100 from Honor Audio was like it was like really tight, really clear, and then and is kind of bright up top, and then with these ones behind me, they're the highs are a bit like up there, but the bass itself is like a bit looser, not as
Hmm.
like tack sharp as like the Silver 100s, and then the Q Acoustics ones are like they feel like the trebles just rolled off at the top a little bit. So like if you put your favorite music on and you weren't like one of us, you were just kind of like, I just want a good pair of speakers.
Hmm.
Just buy those ones. Just like all day, just buy anything in Q Acoustics from like
It's kind of hard to go
the
wrong with
three
those
thousand.
guys from what I've
I
heard.
mean, everything sounds good, and
Yeah.
like if you're unsure of what to buy, it's like that's the my go to recommendation. Just buy those. It's like everything sounds good. It won't hurt your ears. You could pair it with any amp, like it, and they're easy to drive. So it's just like just get those.
Hmm. It's an easy
You know,
recommendation. They really really are. Yeah.
I think the more subtle differences are with amplifiers, where like it's really
Yeah.
tough, like,
Yeah.
and you have to sit with them for a while, and I feel bad. You know,
Most
like
amplifiers these days are designed pretty well to work in the at the volume levels that most people listen to stuff at. I mean, I think when you if you start cranking them up, particularly, I think that's where you sort of will start getting into more easily be able to tell the differences between them because some of them just can't, aren't made to go really loud or drive
mhm.
certain types of speakers really loud. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
but it's hard to find a really, I mean, crappily designed amplifier these days. I mean, it's you kind of have to.
it's more so. It's just more so the UI,
Hmm.
like the user interface of said amplifier, where there's a lot of like legacy within them, like where
Mm,
like we're on the phone day age where you can just kind of like click whatever you
yeah,
want, and so like I find a lot of times it's like like having a cycle between all the inputs on like a remote. It kind of sucks. It's like you want direct access to
yeah,
everything,
yeah.
and then of course my number one beef is not having
Tone
tone controls.
controls.
It's just like why
Hmm.
why does any integrated amplifier not have that? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right, right.
And then HDMI ARC and home theater bypass. Those like
Those are
everything
those are
needs that now.
essentials. Those are essentials.
Yeah.
If you ever check out when you get a chance, check out it's this French brand called Advanced Paris. They have the best way I can describe them is I've seen them the last few shows I've been at, and we're starting to make some arrangements to get some one or two pieces for them to review. But the best way I could describe them is like it's almost like the French version of and I hope and neither one of these companies will be offended by me saying this. I like the French version of Macintosh because they have they have the lit gauges and stuff that Macintosh has. Although Advanced Paris gauges are blue,
Oh.
and they have tubes in a number of their gears. So some of their stuff is solid state, some of their stuff is hybrid with the tube front end and solid state amplification, but their integrateds, they looking at the back of their integrateds, they're some of the most nicely appointed integrated amps I think I've seen. They have HDMI ARC, they have USB DAC inputs, they have like a bunch of stuff that I
Hmm.
think that I think, and yeah, I think you'll agree, most manufacturers these days should be having on their integrateds.
Yeah.
It's a neat brand, and so I think we're gonna, like I said, we're a couple of guys are getting a couple pieces into review, and we'll see how they go. But really interesting looking, and they're designed in Paris. I think I think they're assembled in the Far East somewhere. But they've been around for a little while, and I just think the stuff looks really nice, and it's sort of not ridiculously priced as far as from what I can tell. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, they definitely look interesting. I feel like the knobs should not be silver, but
Hmm.
they should be like even blue or like even just all black, just to kind of make because like all I can see is the knobs, and I'm not looking at the view display on them because the knobs are
Right,
silver.
right, right.
But yeah, they do look cool, and the connectivity. I'm looking at the A12 on
Yeah,
the back of
yeah,
them.
I,
Like it's got everything. It's got like four balanced ins
yeah.
and two balanced outs, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's got some
they
serious
also look
power. Yeah, I think
huge.
it's got some of those the A12, and there's an all-in-one that I think Craig is going to be getting. That's got a CD player and stuff built into it. I mean, it's like every just it's like just add speakers and you're ready to go. But they have a really like big and solid amplifier section behind those ones, the A12 and that all-in-one. I think it's something 250 or something, I think is what it is. Um, but
Big ominous boxes. They look really cool.
yeah, yeah, they're very, very neat. So that's kind of something interesting that at least it just kind of came to mind as something that you might kind of pay attention to when you get a chance to.
Yeah, when he's done, send it my
Yeah,
way.
there we
And
go. I wonder who I would that's a whole. I wonder who the distributor in Canada would be for those. That's a whole other thing. That's because yeah, that's the other issues. Like
getting it from the States
right,
to.
right, because you in Canada, so some of the distributors in the States handle both, and some don't, and so it's always weird. Um,
Every other time something comes my way, when it's on its way, there's like 8 customs emails that I get, and they're emailing me of like, "Hey, what's your shipping provider?" I'm like, I don't know,
yeah,
man. Like, I
so yeah.
don't
What broker are you using? It's like I don't know. And why do you want to know about my investments? And it's like no, not that kind of broker. It's like well,
Yeah,
don't ask me. I don't know. Yeah, yeah, I know. It's
they make it extremely difficult. Although the lady that drives the FedEx truck,
uh-huh.
she's awesome. But like, and so like, I'm super friendly with her now. And so
That's
like,
that that's
she's
the
like, "Oh, these are for
that's the
you."
thing at this job. I mean, you become like best friends and on a first name basis with your delivery people. I mean, there's like
Hmm.
when the freight guys that bring big shipments over here, like the big speakers and stuff. There's maybe three or four of them, but it's the same three or four people, two guys and a woman that drive these trucks with the lift gates and bring these things in on pallets.
Yeah,
And it's like I've got them like on a first name basis with them. And same with our UPS and FedEx driver. It's like, yep, same thing. It's pretty funny.
it's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
There's one thing is that just got announced that I'm curious to get your take
yeah,
on. Have you seen the new thing from Modern Audio,
yeah.
the Studio
That's
89?
right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. It looks like an MTM mid-range tweeter mid-range monitor, and it looks like
Yeah,
the tweeter part is I don't know if it's like a I haven't completely read the full press on release on it yet, but is it like an AMT tweeter or some sort of folded ribbon of some kind or
yeah. So they call it a. I'm just looking at the press release here. Um, oh, hang on. You know what? I'm gonna have to actually find it because they talk about the diaphragms of the drivers are RDT, rigid diaphragm technology drivers.
I wonder if that's
Um,
probably some stuff.
Micropleated diaphragm, is that? Yeah,
Okay.
MPD, yeah, micropleated
All
diaphragm.
right.
Um, and so this is a speaker that was released previously, like as the just the monitor speaker. It was like that sort of humdrum gray speaker with like white drivers a few years back.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It was called the like Modern Audios. It was called the
yeah.
Studio,
Okay.
I remember, and I don't think there was much fanfare behind it.
Hmm.
And then with this latest speaker, there it seems like there's a bigger marketing push behind it,
Okay.
and it looks spectacular.
Yeah, it is really sharp looking. I mean, I like the colors on the drivers and stuff, and it looks
Hmm.
like if what I heard is they took some tech from the hyphen
Yes,
lights or the clothespin I call it, but like the hyphen loudspeaker, and I think there was they might have taken some tech from they released
platinum.
I'm sorry, what?
The platinum.
I don't know if it was the platinum. I just know just after they released the hyphen, they released a series of like custom install or like a home theater line of speakers.
Yeah,
Just
synergy.
thank you. Yeah, yeah. That when I saw that the new monitor speaker, I was like, that kind of reminds me of like some of the drivers that came out of the synergies. Um, just the way
It
they
does
look.
look like the center section of one of the platinum speakers, though.
Okay. Hmm.
Like it looks like they just kind of took that out
Okay.
and like minus the bass drivers and just put that together. Let me just quickly
Is it
Google
sealed or is it a
Mono
ported? Is it
Audio.
a sealed or a ported box?
It is ported.
Okay.
I believe it's ported on the back.
Hmm.
Um, let me just find while we're here. Floor standing. I could be wrong. It might be the. Oh, maybe yeah, maybe it's the actual hyphen that they took the center section of. But yeah, you're right with the Synergy ones too. It kind of looks like that as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it looks really cool,
Hmm.
and it's like it's two 4.25 inch mid bass drivers,
Okay.
and then that diaphragm thing.
Yeah. Interesting. So I wonder how much I wonder how much they cost. Are they like
Oh, they are 2,999, so 3 grand.
$3 grand for
And then the stand, of course, is optional. I think it's
that's
$800.
Canadian, right?
I think it's US,
US?
or is that Canadian?
I don't know.
That's got to be Canadian then.
Okay. Is that for the pair or for each or individual? It's probably for the pair, I would guess.
For the
Okay.
pair, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking I'm looking at the some of the PR stuff. Conceived in the 1980s, reimagined for today. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Yep. I see. I see. They kind of have that. They're cool looking. There's no question about it. I think looking at them kind of reminds me of like what is that? What is that stone? Like, what do they call it? Like tiger's eye or something? That's got like brown and gold hues and stuff in it, or something like that. But it just kind of reminds me of something slightly disco, but not. I may be all wet on this. Look at that.
You know what? They actually remind me closely of the R3 metas
Mm.
because they have like it's those are like
Yeah.
driver on top of driver.
Yeah.
They're just missing the center thing because they use the Uniq.
Hmm.
But like they look like almost like a direct competitor to that.
Yep. Yeah. I could see that.
And price wise, I feels like it's kind of the same as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Nice looking. Yeah. I mean, yeah. They
Yeah.
do look sharp. There's no question about it. It looks like they have a couple of. I think it's from looking at the cutaway, right? It looks like they have a couple of slot ports in the back.
Yeah, I think those are the base ports.
Yeah.
So like they're like top and
Yeah.
bottom, looks
Yeah.
like.
Neat looking.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Very
Yeah, really
interesting.
cool.
Huh. Yeah. Very sharp.
Yeah, Modern Audio always makes great looking speakers.
They do. They really do. And they
And the best part about them
no, go ahead.
is that like when you see the press images of the speakers,
Hmm.
they look basically identical. They're not like fudging them
Yeah.
at all. Like their build quality is so impeccable that
Yeah.
like you know that's what you're getting when you get them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was at Expono when I saw, I think a set of platinums. I think there were towers, just kind of like in person. I think for the first time because up until that point I just seen pictures of them, and yeah, the finish is like on them, and just the attention to detail and how they're put together. Yeah, they're really nice. Definitely on par. I guess it'd be like sort of the English version of quality wise what Sonus Faber does. I mean, it just
Hmm.
beautiful looking speakers, really nice, and the wood grain that was on them was just mind blowingly gorgeous. I mean, just with the grain pattern going through it, it was so nice. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm kind of a sucker for that. So yeah,
Yeah, I see these are piano black as well. So again, the demo that's going to be buying these is going to, I guess, enjoy piano black.
hmm.
But I wonder, like, when that's going to sort of fall out of fashion. Like,
Piano black is like is when it comes to speakers, it's like the black suit, a little black dress. It's
but those are all matte. Like, no one has a shiny black suit
no,
unless they're like
but I mean
a pimp.
it's
Yeah.
pimp. But it's like it's sort of like an essential. It'll in a home theater, it almost guaranteed to go with anything, or in a stereo setup. I mean, it'll go with pretty much any decor. Um,
Except in home theater, because like then it just reflects off of the speaker, like the TV reflects off of it, and then you see it. Like especially if the center's like below your TV,
yeah, I could see
like
that.
I always see reflections in it.
You
It's
see,
just like oh
I've had more piano black stuff in my home theater and I can stand. But and that stuff, it never bothers me. I mean, I either I don't notice it, or I'm just like I'm not that OCD about it, but it just never bothers me. What bothers me is that's all they seem to damn well send me. that's that's what bothers me. I just got the SVS Prime Pinnacle,
Mhm.
towers, and got those set up in my studio, and piano black. But in that case, the choice was either piano black or white, and so it's like, okay, just send me black. But
Yeah.
yeah, if please speaker manufacturers, send me nice wood speakers, please. Just send me nice wood speakers. That's all I ask.
I think it bugs me more because like because my room is smaller, that everything's a bit more condensed.
Hmm.
So like the proximity to the TV
I
is
could see
really
that.
close, and so like then like I basically like I could watch the speaker
Hmm.
and see the action going on.
Yeah, yeah. You'd be far more sensitive to the reflections and
Yeah,
everything. Yeah. I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that. Yeah.
I have that current problem also with not with the gloss, but with every center speaker that Focal sends,
Hmm.
because I'm renting, so I can't. And I'm in a condo, and already when I hang up pictures, like there's just 8 holes per picture. It's terrible. So I didn't want to mount the TV against a concrete wall just because of like the gaping holes that
Yeah.
it would leave in the wall.
Yeah.
So like I have it like on like stands I got off Amazon that raise it at least like 7 inches off the tabletop,
Hmm.
but the focal speaker just creeps onto the bottom edge of the TV every single time.
Oh.
So I'm just like, it's that little cutout that I
Oh man. Again, first world problems, right?
first world problems. Yes,
Oh
definitely.
God, man. Yeah, no, but those monitor audios are nice. I'll be curious to see how they're received and how they do. They're
Well,
pretty
it
unique.
looks like in their press release um they already sent them to What Hi-Fi and someone
Yeah,
else.
I got the impression
And
that they
so
labeled them as sort of like a fun sounding speaker or something like that. At least that's how I sort of when it was first announced. That's kind of what the impression I got. Maybe I'm wrong, but I
well, they referenced the 80s, so
there was some fun stuff that happened in the '80s. I grew up during the '80s.
no, I was a child of the 80s and then a teen of the 90s, but like I mean, that's when all the iconic
Hmm.
sort of like audio stuff like that like happened. So I don't know, like what was the sound then? Like, because it wasn't like
I don't know. When I think of the '80s, I mean, growing up in Canada, I think of all the I think of like the huge change in the sound of the sound of speakers that came out of Canada, actually, that started getting my attention. Like, I mean, I remember, was it the energy speakers, the energy 22, when that speaker came
mhm,
out, that would like it didn't look like much. It just looked like a box with some drivers in it, but the sound that came out of it was like, holy smokes, this is different from anything else I've ever heard. And it just sounded
mhm,
really good. It sounded alive. And
yeah,
that's what sort of, and that's what kind of got my attention, going to pay attention to some other Canadian manufacturers at the time, Energy, Mirage, um, Image Concepts. Who else was that? Yeah, Axiom, PSB. I mean, that's the '80s, the late '80s, I guess, is when I kind of all that stuff came into my sort of um, understanding or attention or whatever. And that's like, hmm,
not to carbon date you here, but
carbon
like
taste.
it's like when you're like talking about all these things that came out in the 80s, like were you listening to them in the 80s? Like did you somehow get a hold of energy speakers and stuff like that, or
I hung around like hi-fi shops. I mean, I was in what in high school from '84 to '88. So I spend a lot of my summers hanging out in hi-fi shops in Toronto and stuff. So that's where I kind of got, where I kind of got interested in this and where I heard a lot of this stuff. Um, one of our my the house we lived in at the time, it was divided up into the space we lived in and three apartments that my parents rented out, and one of the people in the apartments had a set of Energy 22s, and that's where I
Oh wow.
first heard them, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And then I heard them
Hmm.
again at a hi-fi shop, and I was like, yeah, okay, these sounded really really neat. So, but yeah, that's just yeah, around the mid to late '80s is when I really kind of got. I've always been interested in hi-fi and gear in general, but that my high school years when I kind of really got the bug really bad. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
All right. So, what radio station did you listen to then, like back in
Oh
the day?
geez, what both
Like, were you a CFNY guy?
I
Like,
was
before it got
I was mostly
when it turned into the Edge, it turned into trash. But like before that, it was pretty
I
dope.
was mostly Q107. Yeah,
Really?
it was mostly Q107. Probably Chum FM.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and I listen and every so often I'd catch CFTR, but it was mostly Q107. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, the headbanger, hard rock, that sort of
Because
stuff.
like, yeah, I was a CFNY guy up until that like because they had like uh I guess Deadly Headley and Chris Shepard
Hmm.
and all those guys were on there,
Hmm.
and then but also community radio was big, so CKLN and CIUT because
I'm not familiar with
all
that.
the DJs from all the clubs were like so UFT radio and Roush's
Okay,
radio.
okay.
All the club DJs were all had radio shows on there, so like everything from like the Power Move show on CKLN was like the hip hop staple. So like Saturdays, I think it was 1 to 4,
Okay.
and it would just be like sometimes they'd have like two mixers, but sometimes they'd bring like three turntable setups, and they'd just do long 3 hour mixes of hip hop all afternoon. It was
Oh, there we go.
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I mean I was community radio through and through. Like I just used to tape the radio constantly, and like yeah, that was my jam.
No, I had a part-time job as a gas station attendant, and I remember working the Sundays where it was just like really quiet. Nobody would be in the mechanics wouldn't be there. So just be the like me and one other guy running the pumps and filling people's cars, and we'd have like Q107 on the radio of like the entire shift, just like going through like classic rock and the countdown and all this other nonsense, and it was just like Q107. But you know,
Does the year move when they talk about classic rock? Like does it keep like getting newer essentially?
I
Like
don't know.
cuz like
For me, classic rock is like the
the 70s,
60s,
right?
70s, 60s, 70s, and maybe stay. I guess it's starting to. I guess getting into the 80s is like starting. I mean, is I guess would be now what a lot of people would consider classic rock. I kind of don't, but then again, it's hard for me because I grew up then, so it's kind of like, eh.
Cuz then every generation is like
Yeah.
I remember someone told me, and it kind of messed me up. It's like I think it's like any I don't know how true this is, but like anything 14 years old is retro. So so
I guess that's probably the
like
case.
Big Pimpin' is way retro now. It's like
I guess that's gotta be true. But I guess the stuff I would consider classic rock is the stuff, let's say, like my nieces would consider ancient music or something like that. I don't know.
yeah,
So yeah, I guess it's all a matter of
like
one's.
Nirvana is now classic rock, then, right? Or is that
I,
like
I, I guess some people would consider it classic rock. I guess that I don't, but I never liked Nirvana, so it's like I still consider that like grunge. Yeah, but that's a different story. Um, Yeah, yeah. I guess it moves. I guess it generationally it moves. So
I'm wondering? I might be completely wrong. I just figured does the
no,
goalpost
that,
move
it,
for
it it
classic?
it must. But I mean, no one's ever. I don't know. I've never really considered that. So it's kind of like that's different. That's a different question. But yeah, I guess it must. But all I know is like whenever anyone says classic rock to me, I immediately go 60s, 70s. Um, yeah, that's it. So
I have a confession.
yes.
So,
Uh-oh.
uh,
Uh-oh. Well, hold on, let me take a sip here. Okay, I'm ready.
so when it comes to rock
Hmm.
and actually a lot of like music, but like specifically rock music and like some of the I think it's mostly rock. I can't understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
For the longest time.
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to reggae, soca, calypso, hip hop. I have no problems understanding what they're saying. But for whatever reason, when it comes to rock music, and I don't know if it's just my attention, where I'm just like, if it goes on, it's just like for the longest time, you just couldn't get away from like rock music on TV
Right.
anywhere, like beer commercials, like before like the 2000s, where
Yeah.
like it started switching over to like urban
Yeah.
culture
Yeah.
and like having more stuff that like everyone else listened to, but like for the longest time, I just couldn't understand what they were saying. And then it wasn't until I went to like, the Rivoli in Toronto. They
Yeah. Yeah.
used to have
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
karaoke
Yeah.
night there, and so my ex-wife's friends all listen to like alternative and rock and whatever. And so they do. I went with them for a karaoke night, and they had subtitles,
Right.
I guess,
And
of the
for
songs they
the
were
first
playing.
time, you're able to understand. That's what they're saying.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. Like there was like that Bon Jovi song. I don't know if it's classical. I don't know. That halfway there song that they have,
uh,
"Living on a
living on a
Prayer."
prayer,
That's it.
right?
Whatever. So like I'm just standing there like this is the dumbest song I've ever read. Like I'm
Never
just like
read.
because it didn't line up with what I maybe thought it
Right,
was
right.
in my head because I just can't understand what they're saying.
I always chalked it up to, and it's my wife and I have had this discussion because we've heard songs that we thought, when we heard them when we were younger, the lyrics were one way, and then we hear them now, and it's kind of like that is totally not what we thought they were. But I think a lot of that, at least for me, a lot of that had to be because I was listening to music on, like, crappy transistor radios or whatever, and the fidelity was just garbage, and so it's kind of like, you're kind of and you kind of can't make out completely what they're saying, because I've heard stuff on, like, a good hi-fi system now. It's kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, and I'm able to understand it, whereas before I did not. But th- that but then again, in the 80s, the music in the 80s was so bizarre, in the sense
Yeah,
that,
there was a lot of like foreign people singing too. So
yeah,
like
but it was so bizarre in that the lyrics, it's like someone just decided all of a sudden that the lyrics didn't have to make any sort of logical sense, and it's kind of like, I can, you could sing about anything you wanted, and you know, baskets and berries and blah 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 blah, and it's like, what? and
yeah,
but it's like, as long as it had a groove, and and stuff to it, didn't matter. And in the video, they looked like they were dressed cool. It just totally didn't matter. Um,
and then there's like some songs where are you familiar with Depeche Mode?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that song "Somebody," that slow song that they
Hmm.
have. Have you ever listened to it back now?
No, I mean, I was,
It's mad creepy. It's like this guy's kind of like a sociopath, where it's just like no one should be in love with this guy. It's
yeah.
just like
Oh dear.
it's like I want someone to listen to me when I want to speak. It's like what? Just you want a slave?
He was like,
It was really. It sounds horrible. It's like who would be attracted to this guy after hearing this song?
oh god, yeah, yeah. The 80s was just like, it was just like, just the weirdest time for music, in that yeah, just nothing had to make sense anymore. I mean, that was the time people were walking around with clothes that had, like, just randomly strewn words all over them that didn't mean anything, and that's kind of how I felt the music was at the time. It was just like a a, a bunch of lyrics randomly thrown together, and as long as they either rhymed or went with the beat or anything, that's all that mattered. And yeah, yeah, and there's some music like Depeche Mode, and there's a few others you listen to now, and it's kind of like, that is just that is either creepy or gross, weird, or whatever. I mean, so yeah, it's kind of, it's odd. It's very
Yeah, it's but at the same token, like the '80s, it was kind of just like so much experimentation when it came to
yeah.
music, and so like you gotta have the good with the bad no matter
Oh
what,
yeah,
right? But
totally,
like it's just
totally.
as long as like your people are just pumping stuff out, it's like you had so many great and so many different things. That's like when conversely, when like now, where like Taylor Swift comes out with like an album, it's basically the same song, just with a different tone or something. Like
Mm,
every song's kind of exactly the same,
yeah,
like it's in structure and just like it's like what is this? But like,
yeah,
and so much of the music now is just like,
cookie cutter.
especially with like YouTube. It's well, cookie cutter, but then like there's like you could learn how to make music like I do just online,
Hmm.
and then it's just like here's how you make the perfect this and the perfect this, and so like everything sort of sounds the same if you stick to that method. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's like you kind of have to leave it to like the outliers to like actually experiment and do something else,
I just don't know
and
how
push the
anybody.
envelope a little
I
bit.
just don't know how anybody makes money in music anymore.
You don't.
I just can't figure it out. Um,
It's that part is gone.
mm,
Like it's like with I mean I'm a Spotify subscriber, but like I don't know what the like I have like 9 songs on Spotify, for example,
hmm.
and I'm nobody like, but like I don't think I've made a cent. Like it's not even close. You know what I mean? and so and so like yeah, I mean there's so many breakdowns online of just like how little money artists actually make now, and so like
Wow.
you actually have to make physical CDs and then actually tour, and
Tour,
that's the only way you'll
yeah,
make money.
touring seems to be the only way the bands can make any sort of or make a living of any sort these days. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I wonder. It's like now it's the so it's like it sort of weeds out. Like it's easier to like make music, which is kind of cool,
Hmm.
right? And then like only the ones that really want to do it are still making music, if that makes sense.
Mm,
Unless they're just trying to go viral somehow, and then you could just
right.
you know. But as long as you attach a personality, you can make money. But like it's kind of like you're doing it for the love of the game now. If you're going to be doing it,
Okay. Okay.
which could be good,
Mm,
could be bad.
oh.
I wish artists just got paid more in general, but like I mean that's kind of the
Well,
way the
yeah,
world's going.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, I don't know how. I mean, with the advent of streaming and everything, I just don't know how. Um, how the paying system works and just how many streams you need to get a certain amount. I mean, I just don't know, but it just doesn't seem like just to seem like like an equitable way of making any sort of cash, for the art on the artist end of it anyway. Um,
And also like I just did like a follow up video to the Focals where I just kind of pulled out my favorite vinyl that I sort of rediscovered throughout that
mhm,
just my time with it. Like I just kind of whipped out every old album and just kept putting it on because I wanted to rehear that album through the speakers.
mhm.
And it just so happened that every album I pulled out was a vinyl album that I listened to like in more of my formative years, and it wasn't anything new. And there's a lot of great music out there, but it's all digital, and so I don't have the same level of attachment.
Hmm.
And like, it's also I don't have a story of me trying to save up to
Yeah.
go buy that album and the journey of actually getting it, and like, you know what I mean, and that
Hmm.
the end result being that physical medium. Without it, a lot of this music is just kind of like it could all be by the same person. Like I don't really care.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something to be said with the to that when it comes to the whole thing about the argument that the physical media is dead and the CDs are disappearing and all this other stuff, which I kind of feel is just complete nonsense. I mean, there's always gonna, as much as people try to say, um, physical media is gonna go away and all this other stuff. I don't think it will. I mean, there's been the resurgence of vinyl, but sometimes I think even that's been sort of overstated. People still want to own stuff for whatever reason. I mean, they want to be able to physically own a copy of something. There's like you were saying, you know, memories of like buying the album originally. They're having a personal attachment to it. I mean, I don't think we've come so far yet as people where we're ready to you know, give up direct ownership of the stuff that we want or the stuff that we like or that sort of thing. Because I've always felt that somewhere, somewhere, and this is just me being slightly conspiracy theory-ish, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if, a lot of the digital media that people have purchased, and they have, stored up in the cloud somewhere, or, on their hard drive or stuff. It wouldn't surprise me at all if, one day you get an email, let's get like, oh yeah, we've changed our, whatever, Spotify, not Spotify, title, or name any sort of streaming service you want, or whatever that you've purchased from. We've changed our terms and conditions and stuff, just please approve it or whatever. And somewhere hidden deep in the terms and conditions, it's kind of like you don't actually physically own that music which you think you own. You've just basically leased it, or rented it, or have purchased the ability to use it for a set amount of time, after which it disappears off your hard drive, or disappears off your cloud, or out of your account, or whatever like that. They're
That actually happened to
Oh
me.
yeah,
When Apple changed their iTunes to whatever it is now, the music.
Apple Music, yeah, yeah.
Um, I was one of the users where, like, when you installed the new software, or like they installed the new whatever, it just migrated your iTunes, and so like mine was meticulously organized of
Oh
all the
wow.
LimeWire illegal downloads I did, and like I had everything by genre, subgenre, and then 80% of it just went away.
Whoa.
And I was just, where the hell's my music? Like it's gone. Like
Uh,
I don't know where it is. Like I think what it tried to do is replace it with iTunes music copies of everything, and just ditched my originals.
mhm.
But everything was like 80% of my music was gone, and I
Mm.
was just like, what the hell? So like for the longest time, like I just didn't have an iTunes. Like I was just like, I don't know how to make this work. The interface sucks now. It's because like before it was my personal library, and now it's a streaming service,
Mhm.
and it just killed it for me. And for the longest time, it was just like this is terrible.
Uh, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I always think that somewhere, in the entertainment biz, whether it's music or movies or whatever, there's somebody in the office somewhere who's always trying to figure out, how can we, you know, monetize, releasing this movie again for the umpteenth time, or, you know,
yeah,
making the consumer feel like they own something when in fact they actually don't, or something. I mean, yeah, it sounds like I'm going down, into the weeds, or down a rabbit hole or something, but it just would not surprise me if that happens. And I think there's too many people who, you know, want their stuff. They want to physically own their music, or their movies, or the stuff they
yeah.
read or
Cassettes
whatever.
are
Yeah, cassettes. Yeah,
cassette. They're making a comeback.
yeah, yeah.
It's
If
amazing too.
cassettes could make a comeback, oh my God. It's like, yeah, 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 yeah.
I miss it. I used to like making my own
Mixtapes,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mixtapes or
I
whatever.
did that with
But I also
CDs. I
just like
burned mixed CDs for like a while too. But yeah, mixtapes were like I used to love my cassette deck. I had a TIAC that was just a great deck when it worked. That made fantastic mixtapes. I used to love it. Loved it, loved it, loved
I
it.
have one up there. I don't know if it's in frame, but like a dual Sony cassette deck, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the best thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't listen to the radio as much anymore, which kind of like that's the bummer. It's like my consuming habits have changed because now everything's on demand. So I just when my new live stream comes up, I just download it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm golden. But like I used to like Thursday nights was higher ground with DJ Jason Palma, and so like that's like 8 to 10 on Thursday, so that was locked off. Saturday 1 to 4 was locked off, and then Sundays there was like a drum and bass show, and
Oh wow.
after that like an ambient show, and like my days were like blocked off for radio, where like I would either draw or paint, and then I'd listen to music, and then just you get your
Yeah,
week's worth of whatever's coming
yeah,
out,
yeah.
and so like that habits changed, but like I used to tape it, and so like I just had like thousands of cassettes, and I've digitized a few of them
Mm-hmm.
that were awesome. But like, yeah, I don't know. I hope some of this media comes back. I just don't know how plausible it is.
I think it is at this point. I think we've basically come to the point where, Um, music in terms of like fidelity of it on a deliverable media is pretty much been achieved. I mean, you're not going to get better than. I mean, yeah, okay, you're not going to get significantly better than a CD, like
Yeah.
in terms of what in terms of the kind of fidelity you can get on a
You're
deliverable
stepping into something.
piece of media, right? I mean, there is these high res and like 2496 and 24192 and fine, but for most people, I mean, it doesn't get better than the CD. You know,
Yeah.
that being said, I mean, people love LPs because LPs have the artwork, they have the warmer sound that people dig. There's the ritual of it. You have to, you can't skip very easily tracks. You have to listen basically to the whole side or the whole album, and there's a whole, and that's fine too. And then obviously you have cassettes, and you know, but I think we've gotten to the point where we're not gonna get in terms of any better quality in terms of a deliverable format. The formats are all here.
Mhm.
It's just a question
Yeah.
of what appeals to people, and what they dig and what they want their stuff on. And if enough people have show a demand for that they want cassettes, you know, the someone's gonna, yeah, we have five. Was it the company FiO's already come out with their
A
a
Walkman. Yeah.
Walkman, and a cassette Walkman again. How long is it going to be before some of the other players are going to come out with them? um
I'm waiting for Sony just to revive one of theirs.
that to me is like the biggest so far untapped,
Missed.
yeah, missed market potential. It's like they have a freaking the IP that they have, the freaking library they have of Walkman models that they
They
could.
own
They
Walkman.
do, they do. It's kind of like, what would
Just
it take for them to kind of like come back out with that iconic yellow, waterproof Walkman again, just for
yeah.
shits and giggles, or like any of the other hundreds of iterations they came out of, you know? I mean, which is great. If someone, how many people, I still have my Walkman Professional, the big sort of black Walkman Professional. I mean, how many people would be game on buying one of those if they came out with them again?
I give me a Walkman with a 3-band equalizer. I'm all in,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. I mean, it,
And they could take things out. Like you could have the headphone jack, but you could also have Bluetooth
you
headphone
you can
versions
have
of it.
Bluetooth
Like
headphone versions of it, but it's kind of like, what, who wouldn't like love the nice analog sound, if you're into this. But I mean, just the marketing thing writes itself. I mean, it's like, you
mhm.
come on, the new Sony, the reissue of a timeless classic, the Sony Walkman Professional, brought up to, the relive the days of the warmth of the sound of, cassettes, and we updated the headphone section, so it's got a little extra grunt for your modern, high end headphones that you want to listen to, and that sort of. I mean, it's just like, it's such an
But
opportunity.
because they're so big and chunky,
Hmm.
you can just marry the MP3 player to the goddamn cassette
You
player.
could, you totally could. I mean,
And
it's
so like you could have like an all-in-one and it's also a cassette player. It's like
yeah,
why would you not
yeah.
do that?
I mean, if
Like an SD card is this big, so it's like
I mean, you've seen some of the. I mean, you have an Astel and Kern unit that you're reviewing, right?
yeah,
You've seen some of the sizes of some of these digital players that have come out. I mean, no one's worrying too much about it. It's got to be tiny and everything anymore. I mean,
yeah.
so it's like, why the heck not? I mean, that would be great. I mean, now if 8 tracks come back into fashion, I was like, no, no, I don't think so. but
And to your point too, like Astel and Current, like I've had a few friends over and just come and listen to it,
mhm,
and as soon as they pick it up,
yeah.
they fall in love.
Oh yeah,
The size,
yeah.
the weight to it, everyone falls in love as soon as you pick it up.
Those
And then the fact that it's just completely over the top,
Yeah,
like it's just
those Astel and Kern guys. I mean, they've latched onto that market, and they've got. I mean, they have some entry level, more affordable stuff, but where they just like shine is just some of the high-end crazy stuff they put together because it's gorgeous. I mean, they've thought about it all, and the design, the feel, the interface, the whole nine yards is just like is so good on those things.
And they sent along this in the box. It's like the fabric sleeve for it,
It's got a
and
fabric
like
sleeve, really?
yeah, if but like honestly, like this thing costs like 3 grand.
Uh-huh.
I'm not using this. Like I'm not taking it out of my house.
No, are you kidding me? No, 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 no.
I don't even bring it over hardwood. I bring it in soft areas near my bed,
Yeah.
on this couch here. Like it's not going
Yeah,
anywhere
no, no, no.
where hard surfaces could dent this
Any,
thing. Like
yeah, it's the same, and that and that should tell you something right there. It's a portable, so you should be able to take it anywhere. But it's kind of like the portable market's gotten so crazy with like players and headphones that some of these
well, it
things
costs more than every amp that I
are
have.
so
So it's like
expensive that you'd be nuts to take it out in public for fear of like either dinging it or losing it or having someone steal it off you or something like that. I mean, you know, I've had I can't even tell you how many times I've had like really nice headphones that are like maybe 2 grand or whatever that yeah, you listen to the home, but you're meant to take them out and listen to out with your portables and stuff and listen to them mobily. But it's kind of like I'll be damned if I'm going on the bus with a pair of $2,000 headphones. You kidding me? It's like sorry, no, ain't happening.
yeah.
I'm not going on the subway. Well, I'm not there's subway here, but I'm not going. You mentioned Toronto. I'm not going on the subway with like a $3,000 Astral and Kern portable unit. Ain't happening. Sorry,
No.
you know.
But also no one will know what the hell that is. Like like one out of 100 people might know what that is.
Mhm.
Everyone else would be like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah, and well,
It's not a phone, right?
right. Well,
They want the Galaxy Ultra or the iPhone, whatever that's out. They're not going to want the Aston Current. Most people.
most people, but there's always you never know. Something
You
looks
can
cool
probably get
enough.
mugged at a hi-fi convention or Can Jam. But you're not going to get mugged like on the street. Like no one's going to mug you for your MP3 player.
I don't know, man. Something looks cool enough. There's always somebody that'll come after it. It's you just I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's crooks are enterprising. They'll take
But
anything.
what's the resale on some of these things? Like you would have to really know what it is.
I suppose, but I mean, what what isn't there out there that people won't steal these days? You know?
Yeah, I guess so.
So, you know, but it just it just you would see me taking a super expensive audio rig like that out in outside or whatever. It just wouldn't happen.
I just don't want to drop it. Like
Oh,
it's portable,
yeah.
but I'm not bringing it to the gym.
No, 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 no.
I'm really not doing anything. It's like it's one of those products where it's like you have to be like you're all in on personal audio
Mhm.
as that's your thing.
Yeah.
It's a really small segment, I imagine, of people, and then like not just the fact that it's huge, it's expensive, but then there's so much in it.
Yeah.
Like there's so many settings that like every time I think I've done like I just writing a script for it, time I think I'm done, I'm like, oh, I missed like 8 things, and I gotta go
No.
in and just
I have
figure them all
I have
out.
the
Like,
little the FiO the M23 portable player in right now, and it's a great little player for the money. I mean, it's really really good. But it's got like a bunch of settings in it, and I'm like I'm just thinking about in my mind writing the review, and I'm thinking I know I'm going to miss something. I know I'm going to miss a few things that it does that I've
I
probably never
almost
used.
I almost wonder, like I considered doing this of just like just not mentioning everything, like just talk about the things that you actually use, because like there's like thousands of things in this player that I could talk about,
All right.
but then there's only a few of them that actually are pertinent to how I'm going to use it, and I think that might actually be better than just mentioning everything, because I have noticed when I'm doing specs reviews
Mhm.
or reads on my thing,
Mhm.
it's my voice just gets quieter and quieter because I stop giving an S
Two
the whole time. It's just
two
like
S's about something. Yeah.
yeah, just like
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in reviews, it's like, yeah, you basically focus on the stuff that you use. But there's always somebody out there who is after or is looking for a feature that to either of us might be completely irrelevant. It's just
Mhm.
they're that person is out there. It just always, it never fails. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten, but you didn't mention. I've gotten emails or texts that were like, you didn't even mention this in the review. This thing has that. You didn't mention that. It's kind of like, well, I didn't use it because I didn't think it was important. But I mean, you know, there's there's
There's always those.
there's always those. There is always those. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
as another horrible segue, there was something else that was released today.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Cambridge just announced. I'm just gonna pull it up here. Their P100 headphones.
Ooh,
Yeah.
really?
So these are their new wireless over-ear headphones.
Ah,
So
okay,
they're
okay.
venturing into that market now.
Interesting.
Um,
Because they used to just do the wireless ear, but the Melomanias, the
yeah.
wireless in ears, right?
Yeah. So now they have they're joining the over-ear headphones.
Interesting.
So from the press release that I see, Class AB, 100-hour battery life, and then I think it's 60 if it's in like the noise canceling
Oh,
mode.
right. That's if that's true, that's crazy long battery life. Because typically,
So that means you could take these to work and not have to lose the charger like I lose all the time.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
you could take them for like a weekend
yeah,
or
you totally could.
and just
I mean, because I think the most headphones have like I think 30 hours or whatever is kind of the sort of level of most headphones are at around now. So 60 to
mhm.
100. I mean, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, active noise cancellation. If that's on, you get up to 60.
Hmm.
Um, Charging is less than 160 minutes. Um, the fast charge. This is interesting. So 5 minutes gives you 4 hours of playback.
Mm,
So if you're in a jam, you just have to get on a plane.
right,
Just like
right. Just like you
you could do.
jack it in somewhere for like a few minutes and get get enough for your plane ride or whatever. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome. So there's 6 mics on the things.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Bluetooth 5.3 and aptX lossless, aptX adaptive AAC SBC,
Any L
and then a whole bunch of
any
other.
LDAC on that? LDAC at all? Or
Uh, there's a Qualcomm
that's the
something.
name of the chipset company. Yeah, probably
These
not.
all blend together.
L
I don't see LDAC.
LDAC is like Sony's Bluetooth codec or whatever for high res streaming. But I mean, if you have aptX HD or whatever, that kind of makes it moot. So
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So I don't see that on it. I only see the Canadian price. Sorry everyone. I see 377 Canadian.
Okay, interesting.
So
Probably about
that's got to be like what, 300
to
bucks
300 bucks.
US.
Yeah, $300 US. Yeah, nice. Do they look good?
Yeah, they look really good. They come in white and black. Uh, I'm partial to the white, but like I sweat a lot, so I imagine like, and my face is oily, so I imagine those wouldn't hold up very well with my face.
They would develop a patina over a while. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, when we saw those Focal headphones, and they had like that beige color, I'm like, oh, these are perfect because then like my stains would just match the color of these already.
You wouldn't notice. It's all right. Be camouflage. Oh man. Oh, that's pretty good. I know you've kind of, I think, reviewed what, a couple of versions of the Melomanias. Is that right? Or
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah, I have a bunch of. There's a pair right up there.
interesting.
These ones. It's hard doing this backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, those ones up there.
Right.
Um, they're pretty good with just sending stuff over, so I know these are probably on their way.
Interesting.
Um,
All right.
so you'll probably see me rocking those on here at some
Yeah,
point
I'm
too.
curious to see how those come out. Yeah, that'll be neat.
Hopefully, I get them before we go to like if Japan happens, and then I can just wear
I
them on
hope
the
so.
plane.
I'm waiting to hear back. I'm waiting to hear back to see to.
Please let me go.
Well, I mean, they've said I'm going, but they're still sorting out the tickets and stuff. So
Yeah,
until that actually happens, it's kind of like
fingers
right,
crossed.
right. But yeah, I mean,
All right. So rather than keep placating my spoiled self with like my hopes of going there, There is one other thing we never talked about, but I'm curious to get your thoughts
Sure.
on.
What's up?
The Marantz M1.
The Marantz M1. Oh, that's that little. Now is
Hmm.
it,
So it's their. I'm just gonna read what they
it's
call
like a
it.
little streaming
Wireless streaming
amplifier,
amplifier.
right?
Yeah,
It's a little water streaming amplifier. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
100 watts a
Mm-hmm.
channel. 2.1. So like has a subwoofer out. HDMI EARC. It's got their HEOS streaming built
Mm-hmm.
in. Made in Japan, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
Um, and it looks like like I always had my eye on their I think it's like the MCR 60 something.
Mm-hmm.
It was like their mini integrated amplifier with a CD and
Mm-hmm.
like it was like that one thing that they had.
Mm-hmm.
This in form factor looks like that, just like made for the digital age. So there's no CD player, there's no like radio tuner, nothing. There's no buttons on the front. It's just like besides maybe a volume and a play
See,
button
when I
on the
when
front.
I when I hear of stuff like that, I mean, I remember when the press release came out, the first thing that popped into my head was that'd be a perfect thing for for home theater system for like wireless rear surrounds or something like that, where you didn't want to run a cable like speaker cable from your AVR is all the way to the back of your room or to the sides or something like that.
Hmm.
Or obviously multiple zones in your house or something like that for like a home network. Um,
Yeah.
that's to me what that would be really cool for. And um yeah, the fact that it's like made in Japan, 100 watts. I mean, that sounds pretty solid. Um, so,
I'm looking at the back of it. Um, yeah, so on the back, there's optical in, HDMI EARC,
hmm
a USB. I imagine that's for updates, a network input, and then line in, sub out, and then IRs. And it's just a single set of binding posts for every both speakers.
hmm
So it's pretty streamlined. But like because it's a streaming amplifier, that like you don't really need anything else. You just need your phone,
pretty much, yeah, yeah. You just like
and you're kind of done.
stream right to it, and then just comes out through your speakers. Yeah, I mean, it's that's definitely something cool for anyone who's like space challenged, like in an apartment or
Hmm.
condo or something, or even as like a secondary system in the an office system would be
Yeah.
awesome for that. Just come into your office in the morning, hit your music, boom, and and you're off and running or something like that. So yeah, that's really really neat. I like the sound of
But
that.
like this is where my sort of like we've talked about this before. So like there's this one. It's like two speakers and a sub.
Hmm
It's like why can't they just do like a receiver that looks like this?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like does like this is the perfect size. It's half width. It's like even if you just did like a model like this that just had like front, left, right, and center,
hmm
and you just did like your front three speakers, and then if you wanted to, you can add another one on for your rear surrounds, and then you can have a small
You know
stack if
what?
you wanted to. Like,
It's like we talked about when we talked about it in a previous show. The guys like the Italian guys, Gold Note, with those
yeah,
small form factor. I think it was like the IS10 or something. That small form factor integrated, where you could add a second amp channel or a second mono channel to it. So you have like two big monoblock amp, uh, two powerful monoblock channels, but like in a small setup. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess Cyrus from the UK does small form factor stuff as well. And it's like, yeah, why can't someone just come up with like a small form factor AVR where it's got a set number of channels in it, and then you can add if you want to add more, maybe add more or whatever. Um,
mm-hmm.
I will say this, Anthem,
Yeah, I saw
the
that.
little Anthem Slim. It was like the MRX Slim or whatever, where it's like it's a full AVR that the whole idea, their whole idea was like you could tuck it behind your flat panel TV on your wall and just run. It's just completely hidden, and you run everything from there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean,
But they have like weird speaker cabling for that thing. It's like
I don't.
It's like proprietary. It looks really weird. It looks like
I
a
think it's probably it's I think it's Phoenix connectors, so it's like it's custom install stuff. But you can get adapters for that sort of thing. But if I remember right, I think it's Phoenix connectors. It's like
yeah.
a green sort of
Yeah,
bank of stuff with like little holes in it. Yeah, those are Phoenix connectors. Yeah.
but it's not like consumer friendly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, again, that it's made for the
Like I
custom
saw
install
it and I
market.
was like, that's cool. But then like all of like my other concerns are just like, okay, I can put this back on my TV. Now I'm just gonna have a gaggle of wires just hanging from the back of my
Well, the
TV. Like,
idea is the
where
wires
do you
probably you'd be for an install setup, they'd be going in
through the
wall through.
walls?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm
it's
looking for a consumer solution. Like this
right.
looks awesome. This M1.
Hmm.
I hope they do a AVR version of this. Like I think that would be amazing.
It would be a neat idea. I mean, and there's no reason why they couldn't. It's just if
Yeah,
there's the only reason
sorry.
is
I
they'd
mean,
have to find if they think there's a market for it. Yeah.
well, can you just create a market for it? Like, because like this is like it's like the same size as like for anyone listen, it's like the Mac Studio computer. Like
Hmm.
it's like a beautiful small low-ish kind of cube,
Hmm.
and on the front of it, it's just the Marantz logo and volume up and down and play and pause.
Mm.
That's all you see on the front, and they're like it looks like capacitive touch buttons or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
or just and it's like that's all your AVR needs to be. Like you don't need to see the HDR mode. You don't need to see
Yeah.
what movie mode or jazz hall or you don't need any
You
of
can
that
have an
stuff
app
on
on
the
your
front.
phone
You
that'll
just
tell you all that shit. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
like I mean everyone's looking at their phone anyways,
Right.
or your iPad, or
Hmm.
just make that, and then that's the perfect AVR. I'd buy one in a heartbeat
Yeah.
if I didn't already
All
grab
right,
this
Marantz, you
Cinema
heard it. You
70.
heard it here first. I mean, if you're, you know, Taps has got this. It's got your next key product market segment figured out
Make
for you.
make a 3 channel version of the M1. Make it call it the M3, and then
Mm,
your M2
mm.
your M2 would be the add-on if you
Oh,
wanted to have channel 4 and 5 connected to it.
that's brilliant. I like that.
There you go.
I like that. That is a whole homogeneous model line right there.
Ecosystem.
Yes, yes, ecosystem right there. I like it.
Because your EOS app is awesome, or your HEOS app is awesome, and then also your cinema interface, like when I just plug in the Cinema 70 to anything and I have to adjust everything, it's really easy.
Hmm.
So like, and you just have to add 50% of that to this,
There you go.
you know?
See, we here at Sorta Hi-Fi, we bring in real value to the hi-fi
Yes.
industry. So
Yeah.
there you have it.
We should have like what is it like the charter or something like here's like the things
the,
that we
the,
ask for all the time.
the Sorta Hi-Fi manifesto.
Yeah, you will have tone controls, home theater bypass.
That's right. You will make compact size gear.
Yes,
Oh man, yep. That's it. We have to do that. We have to come up with a sort of hi-fi manifesto. Yep.
maybe that's our the new rating system of just like if it doesn't have this,
Yeah.
you can't be
No,
like number
we're
one.
not, we're not we're not talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah. One thing, actually, one other thing I wanted to mention was, since I mentioned
Mhm.
before, the new SVS uh, Prime Pinnacle speakers. Got them set up in my studio. Um, Not as big as I thought, as you think they are in the marketing images and stuff, but big enough. They
Mhm.
sound really nice. I think SVS has got a real winner on their hands. I mean, I moved my Revels out of the room, put these in, got them dialed in, and I'm really liking what I'm hearing um, out of these new speakers. I think SVS really did a nice job. I'm going to be taking measurements soon and hopefully getting things dialed in together to kind of put what I'm experiencing into words that people can understand as opposed to my terrible off the cuff comments at the moment. But
You know what you should try? Have you ever done voice to text on your phone?
I've been trying to do that more and more. Yeah. Yeah, I've started doing that. I've started doing that a little bit, been fooling around with it, but I think I'm going to be doing that more.
it's made my video like script writing fly by because I just like
Hmm.
I'll just record
Hmm.
as I'm thinking about it in the moment,
Yeah.
and then I can just I can just kind of go through that, and it's all out of order, and I can just kind of put it into order,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh, this actually makes sense, and then
Yeah.
if I record that day or at least a day after, it's in my head, so it's easier for me to get out.
Yeah.
Versus when I write, I never write the way I speak,
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
it
exactly.
just falls apart in front of camera every time.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I've started messing around with that, and I'm finding that specifically now when I have a bunch of things I need to catch up on, it's helping me out a heck of a lot. So yeah, yeah, that's
Hmm.
good. That's a good bit of advice. But yeah, but kudos to SVS. Those Prime Pinnacle towers are sounding really nice so far, and the bass is very much kick-ass bass, very very solid.
Nice.
Yes, I
Well, they're
think
a sub
I
company
think
too,
Taps
so
would approve.
yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear potentially those at some point.
Yeah, yeah, very, very neat. A whole home theater with that stuff would be, I think, yeah, be some serious business.
All right.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right, so we are now at the 125 mark, so we should probably call it
yeah.
there,
I think
right?
that's a good spot. That sounds good.
Cool.
Awesome, man.
All right, so thanks everyone for watching slash listening. That's been Carlo. I'm Taps. This is Sorta Hi-Fi.
Hmm.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much, guys, and hope you'll come back again.
Cool.